gets to pick what's not. So far, 26 amendments have been ratified by state legislatures. Only one, the 21st, which repeals prohibition, was ratified by state conventions. Why? Congress didn't trust state lawmakers to do the right thing. Too much influence from the prohibition lobby. So they handed it to the people. 27 amendments, but none since 1992. Could it happen again? Is there anything that Congress and the states could actually agree on? To find out, I decided to sit down with an expert. Not Alexander. Jeffrey Rosen, CEO of the National Constitution Summit. Why do you think people want to amend the Constitution?
I think they want to express their views about what the Constitution means. The idea that the Constitution reflects the views of we the people is right in the preamble, and the Constitution sets up a mechanism for people to amend it if they can convince enough of their fellow citizens to share their views.
It's a pretty high bar to amend the Constitution. Do you think it's ever going to happen again?
It's not looking like it's around the corner these days. A combination of political polarization and disagreement about basic issues makes it hard both to get that 2/3 that you need to propose an amendment and the 3/4 that you need to ratify it.
So you did an experiment recently here at the National Constitution Center where you had liberal, conservative, and libertarian constitutional scholars trying to figure out areas of agreement that could be turned into actual constitutional amendments. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. It was actually a Zoom where it happened, and they proposed 5 amendments to the Constitution, and here they are. First, 18-year term limits for Supreme Court justices. Second, making the amendment process itself a little easier. Third, tweaking the impeachment process. Fourth, ending the natural-born citizenship requirement for president. And fifth, resurrecting the legislative veto, which is something Congress used to do. Starting in the 1930s, it said no to executive actions by majority vote.
So if you had this experiment and you have all of these different constitutional scholars agreeing on these 5 things, have they sent them to their members of Congress?
Well, our team members are traveling across the country, but it would be great if anyone who is hearing our conversation wants to check out the amendments and think about trying to build support.
How frequently do you think the founders wanted us to actually amend the Constitution?
So here's a question on which Jefferson and Madison disagreed. Jefferson, as you said, wants a convention every 19 years. This is consistent with the core of his philosophy, which is that the earth lives in usufruct for the living, and we can't have one generation impose its views on another. Madison totally disagreed. He thought it was a miracle that the first convention had succeeded, and it might be a disaster if we had another one. So people have disagreed throughout history about whether or not we should have another convention, including at the time.
Here's a fun fact. The 27th Amendment, ratified in 1992, happened because of the flu. A student at the University of Texas named Gregory Watson handed in a term paper and got a C. Angry, he appealed the grade, but they upheld the C. So instead of walking away and living his life, he decided to spend 10 years writing letters to state legislators across the country. In 1992, Alabama became the 38th state to ratify that amendment. You were a sophomore at the University of Texas in Austin, and you turned in a term paper and you got a C, and somehow this led to the 27th Amendment being added to the Constitution. Can you briefly walk me through this process?
I wrote about the 1789 Congressional Compensation Amendment, and it sought to correct a problem that had been going on unchecked for a very long time. That being members of Congress giving themselves sneaky, tricky, deceptive pay raises. Went to a lot of trouble, put my heart and soul into it, got it back a few days later with CR. I was very angry. I decided that I was going to appeal that grade to the professor. The next class period, she saw me, threw the paper at me, and said, "No change." So I thought, you know what? I'm going to get that thing ratified. And it took me 10 years, but I got enough states badgering them, pestering them, cajoling them to pass it, that it became the 27th Amendment. It says that when members of Congress want to adjust their salaries, they have to wait until the next election intervenes before the adjustment may take effect.
So how did you get these states to go along with this?
It was literally flooding. state legislatures with letters.
I assume you're paying for the stamps yourself. I mean, how many letters do you think you sent over that 10-year period?
It had to have numbered in the thousands, and I always managed to get at least one member of the legislature to introduce the resolution at the state capitol so that that state could be a ratified state.
Why did you do this? What motivated you? Was it a belief in the fact that you thought this needed to be part of the Constitution, or was it sort of a challenge to yourself, or even to prove your teacher that they should have given you a better grade?
All three of the above. Even if I'd gotten an A on the paper, I still would have done it because the lure of doing something like that would have been too strong for me to resist.
Did your teacher ever apologize for giving you the C?
She did not apologize, but she actually did something far better. At the behest of another professor, he persuaded her to fill out paperwork with the registrar's office, elevating my overall course grade in her class. Supposedly, the registrar noted that that was the most belated grade change in the history of the University of Texas at Austin. So today, in 2025, I can say that I got an A in that class rather than a C.
And I assume that makes it all worth it.
I have a tremendous sense of personal satisfaction that I was able to accomplish something of this magnitude and basically do it by myself.
That's cool.
The 27th Amendment was added to the Constitution because a student got a C on a paper and decided to prove his teacher wrong. The 26th Amendment was added because of college students protesting the Vietnam War. If history is our guide, it tells us that when it comes to amending the Constitution, the best bet is to turn teenagers. Just wine here. Who has some ideas of what to add to our Constitution? What should we change? Or does anyone think it's perfect as well? There's no wrong answer. Yep, go ahead.
Every candidate should get equal funding and equal time on news stations.
Yeah.
I think the right to bear arms, it made a lot of sense when it was put in place, but it's kind of outdated. I feel like it should have limitations at the very least.
Okay.
Every public school should get like the same amount of funding. We should have more limitations and regulations on the police force to like limit corruption of police officers.
I think a woman's right to do what she wants to do with her body should be enshrined in the Constitution. The Constitution has like a age limit on how young you can be to be president. I think we should also have like a limit on how old you can be. Former presidents have shown signs of aging, which is not good, as it might affect how they run the country.
Age
That's what these teachers, young girls
cap.
have taught.
So it does say in the Constitution that you have to be at least 35 to be president. So what age would you or would anyone cap the president at?
80 maybe?
Show of hands, who thinks that we would need a constitutional amendment, and we should have a constitutional amendment to cap the age limit at 80 years?
Maybe 75.
65.
So, why don't we try to draft an amendment? How should we start?
Any person serving in a federal position, once their term is over, cannot run again, shall they exceed the age of 80.
In other amendments, when they said qualification, they named all, so we should probably name it, because otherwise people may try to find loopholes.
There should just be an age cap for just the president instead of like every role. I think we should have age limit president and also Congress.
So, show of hands, who thinks president and Congress, age limit once you hit 80, can't run again? Okay, that's the majority. Okay, we got president and Congress. Any person serving in a federal position upon reaching 80 years of age cannot run again for, let's do it in order, right? For representative, senator, or president.
And no, maybe edit that so that no one can be nominated to any cabinet position after 80.
And no one may be nominated to any cabinet position upon turning 80. Okay, so we've drafted this amendment. If we were to send this to our members of the Senate and the House in California, and to get people in other states to send it to their members of Congress, and they voted on it, it got passed, passed, it went to the states, it got added to the Constitution. Would that restore something that the political process worked? Would you guys like to see that happen? Should we go ahead and try to make that happen? Wait, are we still? The kids had some good ideas. Like Greg Watson or the teenagers marching in the late 60s and early 70s, perhaps they'll be successful in pushing for an amendment to be ratified. But here's where everyone combined. The U.S. Constitution isn't the only one that affects you. You have another. All 50 states and 3 of our 5 permanently inhabited territories, Puerto Rico, the Northern Mariana Islands, and American Samoa, each have their own constitution. This constitution affects your life just as much, if not more, than the U.S. one. And if you haven't read the U.S. Constitution in a while, or at all, then I'm guessing you almost certainly haven't read your state's. A constitution which, in almost every case, is easier to amend than the U.S. one. Now, the process differs from state to state. Many, if not all, allow the state legislature to amend it. Some states have conventions or commissions to propose amendments. Some let the state legislature put an amendment on the ballot for you and I to vote. And some let you and I propose amendments, put them on the ballot, and vote on them ourselves, completely bypassing our elected officials. Today, that citizen-initiated amendment process is available in 18 states. The catch is that for an initiated constitutional amendment, you need enough signatures from registered voters by a certain date to get it on the ballot. Here's a link to the rules for each of those 18 states. I should also note that it costs money to get signatures. That money is spent on volunteers going door to door, or hanging out at the farmer's market, or other public place with high foot traffic, trying to get signatures from registered voters. Oftentimes, we're talking about a total cost of several million, but sometimes it's a lot less. The number varies greatly from state to state. Once the amendment is on the ballot, in most states it just needs a majority vote to pass. In 2024, 23 state constitutional amendments initiated by voters were on the ballot, and 73 amendments were put on ballot by state legislatures. Dozens of them were successfully passed. As always, my DMs are open for questions, and I'll do my best to respond. I'm Ben Shan, and I hope
Alright. So how many people think that the teenager test is right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that idea, except I would say more 75 than 80.
Yeah. Okay. If you get coffee, water, something like that, help yourself. Otherwise, we'll just try to get back in. Okay. Let me do the thing. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, alright. So, welcome to, what month are we in? June. General membership meeting. Before we get started, if you haven't signed in, please make sure to do so. Do we have any new faces in the room? We do, yep. So we've got Brian, he'll be introduced in a couple of minutes. Anybody else? I know we've got some returners, welcome, in terms of snowboarders. There we go, welcome back. Alright, so, events and activities. June 23rd, next Tuesday, Civics 101 class continues, but it is no longer meeting in 311 because I believe it's too hot. Was that the consensus?
There's just a couple times where watch it from home. There will be time. I can send you the link.
Two more classes, okay. So, if you would like to watch those, see Maggie, she can get you the link for that. Next week, June 24th on Wednesday is the monthly Feeding America food pickup and delivery. This month it is in Crystal Falls, and I'm going to hand it over to Rhea for that one. I didn't do it.
Okay, so first off, we'd like to still get as many people that are willing to volunteer to do pickups for Feeding America. We are hoping that we will be able to coordinate with Pastor Mike. Anyone who helped out last month that still has the contact information for the people that they delivered to, if you can dig that back out, and if you're still available this month, odds are we'll probably be having you do those same pickups. But on that note, I'm really going to need someone else to kind of, pick up this as a thing from me. One, I'm going to be very busy. Next Wednesday, I have a rather important doctor's appointment that I need to go to, and I'm just going to be able to squeak into line. And two, my life seriously needs to start shedding some stress. And as much as this is one that I would like to be able to continue to keep going because it's very important, I am beyond maxed out on my mental and emotional bandwidth, and I could really use someone who is passionate about making sure that we address food insecurity in Iron County, that would be willing to be the go-between between Rise Up and the two churches that facilitate the Feeding America pickups. So if you're willing to be that person to help be the go-between, see me after the meeting. And
I'm not even going to let it go until after the meeting. Is there anybody who is willing to step up and help? Because every time we have to ask for someone to come out to the meeting, I want that. So, is there anybody?
No, I just wanted to
Okay, all right, cool.
fantastic.
Is that Michelle? She's going to help out.
Excellent. Thank you, Michelle. I will tell you what I know, and at least as far as when it is the months that is in Iron River, it'll be good for you to make friends with Lori Thomas because she is a member of Grace Covenant and frequently is one of my go-to people for being a go-between for some of the coordination stuff. So thank you. Much appreciated. Give me back.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so next month, general meeting, gonna be here, 5:30, pre-meeting at 5 p.m. Hopefully that doesn't have issues. I will say right now, I will not be here next month. It is likely. I am going to try to be here, but I cannot guarantee it. I have an obligation up in Marquette. So, we will make sure everything is set up for that, but FYI, I will likely not be here. All right. Old business. Is there anything from old business that anybody would like to bring forward?
How did the family picnic go?
Was there a question? What does it go?
It was really nice. We had a big art collective there. About 6 art players, I think.
They all played their acoustic guitars. In fact, I brought a card that maybe we could just write our thank yous to. They were so lovely. We had quite a few food donations. I already dropped off a third of it to my friend's pantry. I will drop off a third of it in Crystal Falls and find out where to drop it off here in Iron River. It was nice. It was nice. We brought our flags. We got together. We had toys. There were a couple kids running around. It was all good vibes. Yeah. It was That's right. We built a fire. I would say there were probably 20 people that came. Yeah. Yeah, it was good. Thank you.
Any other old business? Okay. Next up, treasurer's report. And before Chuck gets going with that, we're passing on monthly donations. So, I'll start here. Yeah. So, if you have
Yeah, if there's anyone that has a receipt that needs to get paid, make sure you see me as soon as possible. Other than that, I'll read off the figures here. We have a beginning balance of $677.70. We had donations from last month of $118. gave us a balance of $795.70. One check, $59. We had that mutual aid balance left over of 133, excuse me, 48. That leaves us with a spending balance of $603.22. Trulick card, our debit card, still has $127.18. 127.18.
All right, any questions for John? Cool. All right, then moving on to new business. We have one of our candidates running within the area, and I believe it's for a marketing seat, correct? All right, so I will let Ryan introduce himself in about 5 minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I just hold this here so you pick it up. Okay. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation from Roberta. And my name is Brian Irizarry, and I'm running to be your state representative for House District 110. I'm the Democratic candidate on the ballot. There is no other opponent for myself or for Greg Markinen. We're the only two, so there's no primary. We'll be on a primary, so we'll each win that, and then it'll be a general election after that. Why am I a Democrat? I'm a Democrat because I support a progressive tax code. I think the wealthy should pay at least their fair share. And I think that we need to maintain a base foundation for our lower income Americans and Michiganders because, as we all know, there's food insecurity. I'm a public school teacher. We need to we just need to have a baseline so that I think that for somebody to go into medical debt or debt because they had a medical procedure that they needed to have, I find that immoral. And I think we need to take care of each other because that's how it should be. And I think it makes sense. And there's a bill, 4407 House bill in the Michigan House Legislature, My Care for All, that Michigan has already worked out some of the funding mechanisms to make this happen. So it's already possible, and I'm in favor of that, allowing all Michiganders to have free Medicare. I'm also a big proponent for letting everybody love whoever they want to love. Love should be cherished. Love shouldn't be scorned. And I think that, I support everybody, no matter how they identify, no matter who they love. And I think that's really important to me as well. And women's fertility, women's, right to choose whether or not they want to carry a pregnancy to term. That should be their choice. I believe that life begins at birth. And so I think once a baby is born, then it's a person. That's how I define personhood. And so I'm pro-choice, and I'm a super big supporter of Planned Parenthood and having reproductive health care accessible and available to everybody, because I think that is very important. It reduces maternal mortality and many other things, and it's just like health care. I just think it's basic. And so those are some of my reasons that I'm a Democrat. My platform that I'll, go out, my 3 platforms when I answer surveys and questionnaires is education, healthcare, and then I want to support our local businesses, because in our district, a lot of our employers and a lot of our businesses are local, and we don't want big box stores coming in. I'm on the City of Houghton City Council. I was the mayor of Houghton for 2 years. And we had a problem with Walmart, who wanted to be taxed as a dark store as if they don't really exist. And that really impacts our services. The number one customer for our police department is the Walmart parking lot. And that's a fact. And so, it impacts our funding. And so things like that. And so local businesses, they give us character. They give our rural communities, that original character. And so that's something that I'll always support. And then
going back to education, healthcare, local businesses. So education, I'm a public school teacher. I want to fund our public schools. I want to make sure that we always have free breakfast and free lunch for all of our students, because how can a student learn if they're hungry? We want to start them off, make sure they have breakfast, and then finish the day strong with lunch. I think that makes sense. If we're going to require kids to come to school, the least we can do is feed them. And then my wife's a first grade teacher as well. So we're super like union household, pro teacher, pro public schools. And healthcare. I think there's a problem with our healthcare system in rural Michigan. The Aspires Clinic closed. There's no ER in Ontonagon County. I think that's ridiculous. And what I would propose in the legislature is similar to how we categorize our airports. In Houghton County, we have our airport that's deemed essential. So I think it would make sense to deem some rural ERs as essential, so they're not allowed to close, even though they're not making a profit. It doesn't matter. They should be subsidized then by something, because it makes sense that we have an ER in at least every county. It's absurd that we don't have an ER in a county in our state that had one. And so I'm not trying to like bring tier 5, tier 6, oncology clinics to the area. That always can't be supported. Our hospitals will tell you that we can't attract the talent because we don't have, the repetitions for them to get their reps and stay current. But the least we can do is provide basic emergency room care for everybody in Michigan. I don't think that's asking for too much. And I would propose that we make sure some of our hospitals stay open, even though the corporate companies want to close them because they're not making enough money. I think that's sick and it's gross. So my name is Brian Irizarry. I'm from Houghton. I'm knocking doors in Iron County. It's very nice to meet you all. We're all on the same team. I know since knocking doors in Crystal Falls how hard it can be to be a Democrat in this area.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense either.
It's so good being here. It's like after work, I just needed a bowl of ice cream, and that's what this is for me. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll do 5 minutes.
Okay. Q&A.
Say your last name slowly.
Yes.
Or spell it.
Okay. Ira Zari.
What grade did you teach?
I'm teaching. I teach high school. Baraga is a pretty small school, so I teach seniors through freshmen, math and Spanish. See, thank you. Yeah, I speak Spanish as well. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So Greg Markkinen will often talk about how his background is education as well, though since he's been in office, he really hasn't been a huge supporter of education. How do you plan on distinguishing yourself to voters so that they understand there's a difference between you and him when it comes to education?
Thank you for the question. I've talked to many teachers that worked with Greg when he was at the Copper Country ISD, and they have horror stories of him like taking lunches from refrigerators and stuff that weren't his. And I think the MEA did endorse him, but he has like his bill that the Republicans will throw all their garbage into Markkinen's laps because they think his seat is so secure. So he was the one that was sponsoring this bill to make it optional to require schools to feed kids breakfast and lunch. And so some schools would have an option, so they could, if they wanted to, not do that. So he has a voting record that I can run against on that. He's introduced the bill that would make kids go hungry at school. And so I'm just a really strong union supporter as well. I don't know how strong he is on supporting teacher unions. I'm not a big charter school person. Yeah. So there are a lot of, it's a scam. There's a lot of things that just distinguish us on education on that. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yeah, thanks.
I just think it's something people have always said, oh, well, he came from education. He knows what's good for the school.
He worked at the school I work at now, Baraga. So it's pretty funny. Everyone's like, what is this? The launching pad to the state legislature, Baraga?
You are running for state senate?
No, state representative, House District 110. So it's the 6 counties in the western UP. Keweenaw, Houghton, Ontonagon, Gogebic, I'm told is how it's pronounced, Iron, and then part of Dickinson, which is Kingsford and Iron Mountain.
Wow. That's not
Good,
easy.
No,
A lot of them can have different problems.
they do. Yes.
Could you tell us your views on the data centers that are the rage right now?
Yeah, I'm not sure of any data centers that are being proposed in the Upper Peninsula, but I'm generally feel like they're predatory. I generally feel like they're going to exploit both the natural resources, and the electricity, polluting the noise in the area. I'm not sure how much benefit they are to the local communities. I don't know how many jobs they're going to create for local communities or how much benefit. So I'm generally not for data centers. Each data center project is probably going to be a specific thing. If the local community wants it, that's a conversation. But I'm not going to be calling for data centers to come up here. I generally don't get a warm and fuzzy about them.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Don't you think there needs to be something? I feel like they're like plowing their way. Oh, I'm sorry. I feel like they're plowing their way through small communities and farmland, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think there needs to be something in the way of them proposing to come up here?
Yes. In other words, like a permitting process or something like that. Yeah, for sure. Where they need to get like a public comment period, something like that. Yeah, I would be in favor of that for sure. To slow down, to make the process more deliberate, to prevent them from jumping in quickly. And yeah, I'm in favor of that. Yeah. Yes, sir.
My voice is pretty loud. The problem with the data centers is that once you let them get a foothold, they're going to get in. Because they normally attack rural areas. And when the rural area, most of the time, will vote it down because they just destroy property, destroy water, destroy the environment. They're really a bad thing for people. What they find, though, is that the companies that fund these things get in there and then they say, okay, fine, we're going to sue you for not allowing us.
The municipality, the local. Yeah.
And then the small towns do not have the money.
I see.
To fight back. So once they get a toehold in, your chances of knocking them out are going to be really difficult. So it's important. I guess what I'm saying is it's really important to be on top of that stuff before it begins to happen. And I think that we're trying at one point to put one in Delta County, and they voted it down. I don't know where that stands. But,
I didn't know that. Thank you. I didn't realize that litigation point. Did she? Oh, I don't know about that. Yes. Question.
How good I did.
And if you want to cut off Q&A, I know there's an agenda. So.
Speak for 30 seconds about the Copperwood mine and what the position you're running for has the ability to influence that situation.
Sure. So it's hard to condense that into 30 seconds. Okay.
That was for Aaron's sake.
Yeah. I'm generally in favor of the Copperwood mine. I know that's not always a popular position. Because I think what we need to do, first of all, clean water is non-negotiable. We want to make sure that we have clean water. I believe that if this copper is not mined now, it's going to get mined later when it's more valuable. And I think that the Eagle permitting process, the public comment period has been in place. I think that we need to make sure that before this place comes in, that we negotiate that if they're going to mine our copper, then they have to play by our rules type of thing, which means you're going to invest in our infrastructure and our roads and our power lines and our schools. And then that way, if they leave, they're not just abandoning a community, but we want them, if they come in, to improve our quality of life and to improve the local economic prosperity for the people and to leave a lasting sort of economic legacy that's positive. I know that we're worried about the tailings ponds and the pollution, and I am too. I originally signed off on the list, the protest against the mine, so that was my gut initial reaction. And then just when I look at the economic picture, Gogebic and Ontonagon County are really hurting, and their trajectory is not really going up very good. And so I would cautiously say for that particular project in that particular economic zone that I'm in favor of it on the whole. I wouldn't be in favor of like the cutting our national forest down and other things that don't have any sort of economic benefit to the local people. On that very specific project, I know, Lake Superior water, it's on a downslope, but I would just fight for it to be done in a clean way. But I wouldn't be requesting SOAR money. They don't need incentive from the state. We don't need to be getting ahead of private investment. If there's no private investment, then the state of Michigan shouldn't be putting any taxpayer money into it. But it's one of those things where copper is going to be part of the renewable energy, the green sort of transition, electric vehicles, and that's where the copper is. And it's a tough one, and I'm not like dig baby dig, but that's where I stand. And I know that's not always popular, and I'm glad that everybody's advocating for the environment. I am too. It's just as a politician, I have to sort of pick a side, and that's the side I'm picking. Sorry.
Could you also just address what the position you're running for, what opportunities there are for you to influence that either way?
Yeah, well, I've never talked to the company. I'm not talking to the people that are running the mine. I'm talking to people on the ground, and that's who I would fight for. I wouldn't be fighting for the corporate interests. They need to be held accountable. They're going to try to cheat, and they're going to try to get away with doing as little as possible. And I'm there to be like sort of, in a litigant sort of term, an attorney for the people, that I'm going to be there advocating for all of these views that are brought up, these environmental concerns that are brought up, to ensure that they don't pollute our environment. I'm told that it'll cost them $10 to clean up a $1 spill, so there's financial incentives for the company to not pollute as well. But that's sort of what my stance would be, is to fight and hold that company accountable and not be a cheerleader for that company. So yeah.
Okay. One last question. Anybody?
Hi. One of the things that troubles me the most about Markinen, and where I have disagreements with you tonight on other topics, Markinen has, among other things, proposed a bill in the state legislature that would advocate for forcibly outing trans kids to their parents, regardless of whether or not that would make the child unsafe at home.
I think I strongly disagree with that.
Would you be willing to advocate and propose legislation making Michigan a sanctuary state, so that we act, rather than just defeating the toxic bills that are being proposed, actually put in place protections necessary to prevent things like Markkinen's bills in the future?
Yes, I don't know exactly what sanctuary state means in terms of like federal legislation. It would be a sanctuary state for. So I would say generally yes. As a public school teacher, I make sure that all of my students feel safe in my room. I taught at Hancock Public Schools, and they didn't renew my contract because I made it very clear that everyone was welcome in my room. And the school board didn't like that, and they said, see you later. And so that's just a stance that I took. And all of my students know that, and I always stick up for my trans kids and my LGBTQ plus kids, and they know that they feel safe in Mr. Irizarry's classroom. And so as a public school teacher, I see that on the daily, and that's why I couldn't live with myself if I did anything other than that. And I always just stick up for the kids. That it's a scary thing to be outed to your parents, and they have preferred names, and we use those and pronouns, and that's important. And I think that's why part of the reason that I'm a progressive is that issue, and it's important to me. And it's just a humanity thing, I think sometimes, frankly, religion causes problems in that area. And so, does that answer your question? Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody. Nice to meet you.
All right. Awesome questions tonight. So, yep. Okay, so Maggie to explain what we're going to do next. Okay, so first, it was mentioned from Cindy on the Facebook group. We only had a couple of people that accepted the nomination. We did not have the majority of the nominations accepted for the group going forward. And so we need to have the conversation tonight of, okay, well, how are we moving forward as a group? So that's just kind of to set where we're going and what the next conversation is going to be. So first, I will hand it over to Cindy, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Erin. Jay came home a couple of weeks ago and told me that out of all the people we nominated and the whole rest of the month that nominations were open, that nobody except for Matthew is running. And then he mentioned there is a chance that if nobody runs, then we'll have to just disband our group. And I'm like, we have over 400 members. It says they're on that Facebook page. And yet we can't even get people to hold a few positions. That made me kind of angry. And then I'm like, okay, put your money where your mouth is. Rhea actually nominated me last month for treasurer. And I turned it down because I also belong to SNAP. And it just, makes it a little harder, but nobody's running. Somebody's got to do this. So I am officially running for treasurer now. And I would really hope other people will stand up and fill the other positions. I hate to see this group and what we believe in just peter out to nothing. Then we're just, I know we're a little group compared to a lot of others, but if we don't stand up for what we believe, then we don't deserve anything then. We need to stand up and do stuff here. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So before we get into anything, does anybody else want to run for any of the other positions? What was that?
I didn't put it on Facebook. I'm sorry. Can you go over positions that are still vacant?
Yeah, positions that are vacant. President, vice president. We now have secretary is Matthew, treasurer is Cindy, PR, events, and we've got 3 members at large.
Which we have nominations for.
We have a couple of nominations for members at large. Yeah. Yeah. By president, vice president, PR, and events. Okay, let me see if I can do this off the top of my head. For president, basically you are the manager and coordinator for the group in the sense of you set the meetings, you set the agenda, you set the leadership schedule based on the availability of the leadership team. VP supports the president in that role. So they're stepping up if there's any other needs, delegation, that kind of a thing. For PR, you are putting out the newsletter, you're putting out social media posts, you're coordinating with any media outreach that needs to be done, and working closely with the president, the VP, and the secretary to make sure that information gets out. The event coordinator is putting on any events, so that's rallies, that's socials, that's all of that kind of a thing. And so if you want to have an event, that's your event coordinator. And then the members at large basically are on the board. So for example, this last round we had 3 members at large and they were working on doing things like, oh, my brain, the bylaws. So that was a big one. They were pulling together the bylaws. They would step up if there was any time something that needed to be done that the main members of the board couldn't necessarily tackle. They could step in and help with that.
Like Rhea was coordinating food drive, along with Amy, who decided to do a food shelf at her shop.
Sorry. Are we forgetting the members at large, what some of the other things they did? And by the way, the events and PR person work very closely together. So they support one another, and yeah.
And then within that, it could be PI / it could be one of the members that like coordinating the YouTube. Normally it would be fall under PI, but there could be a member at large that could focus on that. And so, because so far the last number of months I've been bringing it in, but if I am not here, we need to make sure that someone on the leadership team has that. So those are the roles as they stand. So with that, does anybody want to nominate themselves?
I almost remember. I just want to add that, like, I'm the PR person, and I think there are a couple of people who are currently on the leadership team who feel similar to what I do. The way I feel is that I don't want to hand somebody a file and run away. I would like to stay doing some of what I do. I just don't want. So I would be. What I'm saying, if somebody else was nominated and took on that role, I intend to stick around and I could take a piece of what those responsibilities are, I guess. So I'm hoping somebody would share the pie with me, maybe take the lead on the pie, but would share it with me. And I think there's a couple other people who might feel that way about their positions.
I'm sorry, could you briefly explain? You got a little synopsis here, but what do you do?
I do the social media, and I do the newsletter. Those are the the time consuming, the big pieces of pie. I spend a lot of time talking to Roberta, who does events, and get involved in like detail, because you have to get the details, so you end up in detail conversation about how we're doing things and that kind of. I could be doing stuff with local media, but our local media isn't very cooperative, so that's really we're not currently utilizing that very well, but that is an awareness. Anybody want to help me out?
It's a place we could still go forward.
Yeah, for sure. That's a place we could still go forward to. We've talked.
You're pretty computer savvy.
I am.
Pretty computer savvy.
Especially for how old I am. Because I do. There is a young woman, her name is Bailey Blazer, and you might have seen her on her social media posts because she has taken some fabulous pictures for us and stuff. And she's a graphic designer at Black Dog Printing, and she actually does specifically for the events, the social media, the really well done, nice, like the picnic thing, or for the No Kings rallies. She's been doing those graphics. And she'll help me with a little bit with the posting, but it's just a very, like, when you need to get something done, if one of us isn't available, it feels a little like I'm not going to sleep tonight because so I'm just looking to spread the joy.
Mm-hmm. You do a great job.
Yes, absolutely.
Every one of the people on this team has been doing a great job. Yes, really.
Mm-hmm.
Picking up where needed and.
All right, think on it while we do our next activity.
So because of the response with the nominations, and we're like, we were hopeful, and now we're like, okay, kind of back to square one. How do we go forward? We need to know what our membership wants more of or less of. We want to know what the membership comes here for. It can be something really tangible, but more likely it's something more along the line of emotional support for what's going on, and you just need to sit with other people who feel the same, have the same anxieties, same frustrations. But what we would like to do is know some specific concerns people have that they would think our organization should focus on. If we've been focusing on things that you feel in this community, it doesn't have the relevance, or we want to focus less on that, we want to know that too. So to that end, I'm going to pass out these little scraps of paper. I hope you all have a pen or something of that sort. And we're going to ask you to write down on this slip of paper, you don't sign it or anything, just take a couple and pass them on, what you would like to see Rise Up Iron County Indivisible focusing on, doing more of. And again, what you would like to see. If we've been doing some stuff that you think is really kind of a waste of our time, given the pressing matters up ahead, then that will be a less than. And I'd like you to put your mores then, after you've written them out, if you just pass them to the end of your table, we'll collect them and put more than here and less than's here. So we'll kind of sort them out, sort them, kind of recognize some themes. Pardon?
Stuff we want more and stuff we want less of.
Yeah, just put on separate sheets, on separate slips. If just put one item to a slip of paper.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, no list. Just take another slip.
Can I just like?
And I'm gonna say, if you want to collaborate and talk with your
Can I like two?
Oh yeah. Yeah, talk amongst yourselves if there's, if it helps to trigger your thinking a little bit more.
Take 10 minutes, so we can meet at 6:30.
Yeah, I mean, I could have ripped up more paper that way. Do you need something to write with? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, is that what you meant from?
If you would put a plus, meaning more of this on your slip, if that's the kind it is, if it's a slip where you're stating what something you want left of, put a minus, will help us to sort them a little bit more quickly.
Okay. On the back, are we folding it or what?
No, you don't fold it.
Just on the back, plus or
Where-
minus.
Anywhere up the corner, anywhere on the slip. Nothing happened. Nothing. Notice I'm putting less on my table with less space because we should have more. Is there a pile of papers anywhere?
Oh, I should have had it right like that.
These are both pencils.
Are we, yes, without the, position that you need to fulfill. Is it also?
Okay.
Of what they do. Last time, because I think they do that. I know. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Are you correct? You know what? I'm not. Yeah, I don't think I wrote it down first, but I'll do it again.
She said she would like to hear from each of the people who held the office.
Yeah, they said
or member at large. Just briefly, what did you do? Notes of that.
Oh, you did?
Each person speaks.
How nice of
I
it.
forget. I might have it on my list. Trying to remember everything that everybody was doing. Just plus it's something to do. Yeah.
You missed that one.
Sorry.
That's all right. It's okay. It's just more of what I had covered in on paper anyway. Continuation of what I wrote.
I'm not going to try to put ideas.
These are my information on how to contact representatives. Just make it easier to be heard. Continue with the rally.
Are we supposed to
feel they have a voice?
Am I supposed to do like one paper each?
One for each thing.
Oh, one for each thing.
Yeah. Encourage communities to vote with upcoming midterms. How to see where to register, where to go, etc.
I have a couple basic pluses. I was thinking about what kind of community, get to know each other events, general kind of social events.
Get to know each other.
Social events.
Yeah. If you want more of it, put a plus.
Yeah, I have a plus there.
Okay.
And the other plus, I kind of like more just sort of educational lectures. I think those kind of might be interesting too.
That would be good. Do you need more paper?
No, yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
I didn't know whether you did that
Where this is voting, so you guys might think we're only voting right now, but
Got any more? Are you good?
no, let's do those two for now.
Okay.
I'm too Pacific.
Jason, I'm delivering.
Did they put a plus on that one, Mom?
Huh?
Did they put a plus on the second one?
Yes.
They did.
Is it plus on?
Need a less pile. It's kind of following some clear things. I don't
No, I didn't. I haven't actually been in a while.
Anything else? Oh, good.
It might hurt or whatever, because I'm sure instructions.
I can think of a lot of things like no, that one I don't do. I have other ones I use for.
I've been in everything.
Yeah, right. Be back at the height of his career. Yeah, they say that he here we go.
And
On the side.
Okay. I'm happy to say there are only 3 slips of paper at the left table. So I guess that we need less of. Here's what we need less of. I'll start with things that divert us from our primary purpose. Absolutely. Things that distract us from our primary purpose. And we recognize going forward that, we're counting down the months. This group is going to have to have a real clear focus of helping people understand who the candidates are and making sure they're registered to vote and being prepared to, practice their democratic right. We need less passive complicity with the oppressor. Always agreed with that. Okay. And we need, it says purely social events are not well attended. Good observation. Okay, so we want to have more activism kind of opportunities with. Okay, so what we want more of, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 5 pretty clear groups here. And there's 11 slips that are referring to protests, more coordinated protests, such as letter writing protests, protesting local issues as well as national, rallies in the women's healthcare desert. I think our rallies have an impact. I do too. More direct action. I put that here. What do we mean specifically by the direct action? Not protests? No. Okay. Mutual aid? I know, but that's the direct action type of example. Okay. You want to go into it? No? What you mean by that?
By direct action, I mean that if there's a local business that is sheltering ICE, that local business should be made to feel so much pain that they cannot economically endure to continue supporting ICE.
Okay. I got you.
If there is any business or person that is giving shelter to people who are kidnapping U.S. citizens and legal residents, that business should not be able to endure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. The question was, are there any in this community? And the answer was, yes, there are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should do that.
We should.
I've been hesitant about doing it just
Yeah.
because I'm a business
Right.
owner myself.
Right.
But I don't really care. I'm on the right side.
But at one time there was that marketplace or whatever it was called. Public Square, a website. You could try this, but I don't know if you're going to find the website up anymore. You could go on Public Square, put in your zip code, and the businesses would pop up that are registered with MAGA.
If we don't know who they are, we can't make an impact.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
But isn't that sort of similar to when we talked about boycotting local businesses who were supporters, and it just became like, we don't want to fight against local businesses, we don't want to bring down.
That's why I did.
Yeah. But that people can look at your place and judge and not go to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and some of these businesses
I don't want to throw up.
are hardcore. I mean, that maybe need a little bit of a, sit down and shut up.
Mm-hmm.
They need to feel the hurt because nobody here is boycotting anything here, except for me.
Uh-huh.
But I'm just saying, I think they need to feel a little bit of that. And I'd be happy to make a list.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. I wasn't sure because I've already gotten in trouble a few times. I've been sent a few defamation type information and being sent to different lawyers and stuff. And I wasn't sure how far I could take that. They're the ones that are putting out the Trump signs and the flag. So if I'm just the one pointing and saying you're MAGA just because of what you put out, I can't get in trouble for that. You did it.
But you state that such a business has got MAGA posters in its window.
And fact, right?
State of
Like
fact,
no
right.
defamation. Fact.
Right.
This place is listed on Marketplace as being supportive of MAGA. Fact.
Also, it could be an anonymous list that we need.
That's what I'm saying,
You
just
know,
for
we don't-
us.
We don't need to know who made it up.
Right.
I'm
So
talking
that's
about
a good focus going forward is for like a member at large or two to take that on upon themselves, or any combination of leadership team or non-leadership team people, to just because it's a short-term compilation. Once we have the information, pretty much it just needs to be updated now and then. But it's not a lot of work once it's done.
There
So
are also churches that are pretty MAGA, right? I don't know which ones they are.
I'm sure
Yeah.
There's some that are not.
Yeah.
And a lot that aren't. Well,
Yeah, that'd be nice to have.
So that's a good direct action kind of a thing I think we could do. Continue with rallies so people feel they have a voice, and more rallies to support causes important here in Iron River and Crystal Falls, such as hunger and homelessness. So our rallies do support those things, so we can continue that. Local pop-up demonstrations, yeah, just being ready, whether these are local issues, I'm not sure if that's what the person who wrote that intended, or just responding to something happens nationally. This Saturday we're going to have a pop-up demonstration. Either way. So, protest, letter, postcards, and phone calls. There are 3 things on this. These are what we can do more of. We can all do more of that. The protests have to be organized. Everybody can write letters, postcards, make phone calls on their own. But
Do any of the individual groups put out mailed to the community, dropped in mailboxes information? Just
what you mean, like a postal carrier? Everybody gets it.
Or like if all of us took a small written whatever about places they could boycott, phone calls they could make, letters they could write, and put them in 10 of our neighbors' mailboxes. Is that?
Nope.
You have to mail the mail.
Yeah, in fact, one of the things we just talked about, a couple of us recently, was just getting a stack of postcards that we can stamp something on the back, which is the check your registration, put the website there.
Yeah.
Then vote.
What about when people put the slip of paper in your doorknob for their window washing? So can we do that?
I think you can slip things under people's windshield.
Could we door to door, like this guy here, and like literally just slip it under people's doors, and just in case they don't even want to talk about it, that they want the information?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that identifies people's strong Republican, lean Republican, independent.
What is it called?
Van. You probably, I imagine people in here have heard of it, maybe not, but for example, a candidate used it. I had to pay $300 to use it for the Democratic Party, and then I have access to everybody's. Basically, you can do a lot of filtering by age, by a lot of things, and it will categorize. Yeah, it'll categorize people based on if they're a strong Republican, strong Democrat, independent. There's 5 different categories. It's based on, I don't know how they tell, but I think it's based on the ballots they choose. Like if you go straight ticket or if you do like crossover. But anyway, there's a way that you can pay for a service that you can find out a lot about people that you may not want to know all that.
Well, what about also like literally doorknobs, posting stuff on sign light posts?
I think just canvassing a neighborhood.
Canvassing.
The local pizza place opens up and they start hanging things on the door there.
Right.
That would be a good idea. That would get us more out there, especially since WKIB over here.
WIKB.
We could get exposure out there.
Sandy?
We're talking, for instance, about the WIKB and local media. I think we're willing to put funds there. You can do an ad
on, and they're not horrible expensive, do an ad at the paper, do an ad on WIKB to ask people to vote, to ask people. There's things we can do that way. They won't do it free. You can't do it as an editorial, but you can pay to get something out there. That might be a decent use of a little bit of our money.
Yeah, and I just
Just a
submitted a public announcement to be printed next week. I will see if it goes through. Just giving information on a meet and greet that we're going to have on July 2nd. That I put in there. The closing lines was, did I say check your or know your candidates and vote August 4th. So that's contained in the public announcement. I don't know if they're going to scratch that out or let it fly, but it isn't published yet. It will be in the reporter this coming week because it's a local event that's going to happen on July 2nd at the Windsor Center. Kyle Blomquist is coming. Am I saying his last name right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's coming for just like you're here tonight for answering questions, talk a little bit, and then meet people and so forth. Yeah. Yes, in the evening, 6 to 8. It's a Thursday night, I think. Okay, so, you get the idea. Yeah, a lot of people feel that they want to do something. One thing they can do is to stand in line at our rallies. Make noise, wave a poster, make a presence. I think that covers that area pretty well. And then there's floor slips here that we want more of social events, getting to know each other. Social events, online social, and monthly meetings. Since somebody else said clearly social events don't work, maybe we ought to think about that and think, okay, how about we combine them with a monthly meeting? And then there's a category here for issues, okay? More sharing on issues and concerns for members at meetings, and we have a public, what do we call it on the agenda? Open forum. We want to hear more from people. People who come to the meetings have things on their minds. We'd like to hear, not just when we ask a person to come and be a speaker on a topic, but anything that's on your mind, a frustration, we intend to allow more time for that at the meetings. Clear messaging about who we are and what we want to do to make public more aware. And that educating non-group members, more community outreach, and educational informational lectures. Those are good ideas. And I don't know, I'd like to hear some people's ideas on what. We have a lot of interest. A lot of people stopped. We also did the float in the parade. We intend to do that this year, but we're not going to pull it off by ourselves. So there has to be some members jump in and help this, putting together the float wasn't a big work project. It was an hour before the parade, basically. But we had things beforehand to work with, so. Yeah.
Does anybody in this group right now have any idea of what that cost?
Oh, it's a lot.
Everybody says it's a lot, but what does that mean? I don't understand. What does a lot?
I don't know if you pay a lease per month or a year to put it up.
No.
I can answer that question.
Okay.
So they're gonna. Lamar is the company.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to Lamar on the phone. They had a really cooperative point of contact in Marquette. He was a Democrat, and he was basically explaining it to me. You run them for like 3 months or 4 months, and then I want to say it was something in the neighborhood of like, if I was going to, it's like a couple, like 5,000, something like that. Yeah, for like 3 months or per 4 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not crazy.
Okay.
There are some locally owned ones also, but the locally owned ones, depending on where they are, like if they're good, They're like $600 or $700. The ones that aren't so good are like $300.
Do they have the ability to censor what you want to put up? That would be my next question.
Sure, they do. They're
Yes.
privately owned.
Mhm.
They actually design it.
Mhm.
They don't accept what you give.
Oh,
They'll put the,
even the big bold.
they put up what they want.
Are you talking about Lamar?
Yeah.
Okay, but private locally, we know a friend down the road who, might say, "Oh yeah, you can use that billboard. It's empty right now. How long you want it? What are you going to put on it?" That's where you get into what we want to put on it. But I wanted to put up the preamble to the Constitution that I painted for the parade last year on a 4x8 sheet of plywood, and I spoke to a former business owner in the community, and she was going to look into it to see if we could get that mounted up there, and then with our credits. It kind of fell through because I think the billboard was actually torn down because it was no longer owned, used by that company, that business. So, did you have something you wanted to say?
What about yard signs? What about signs that we can put on our own sidewalk?
Mm-hmm.
It makes you target, I think.
I do too.
We
Yeah,
my wife's afraid of the
Mhm.
street, and I so much want to turn that upside down, but I'm afraid of becoming a target.
Okay, but they also put those like on the corner of like intersections of the
Right.
highway and stuff like
Right.
that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd be for that, but not as individual. Yes, that's the other thing.
A local woman ran into a problem when she unknowingly was charged with vandalizing someone's anti-Gretchen Whitmer sign, I believe it was. And it happened or maybe it was a Trump sign. It was a Trump sign?
It was.
Yeah. It happened when her granddaughter got out of the car they were picking up a friend, a relative, and pulled it out of the ground and threw it on the ground, and then didn't say anything. Got back in the car, and she got these. Then the police were at her door,
That story.
and she ended up having to go through a court proceeding, and got off okay. But it wasn't a pleasant experience, and there was a threat of a big fine, and I don't even know if she ever had the fine. Got a fine.
Was it a pro-Trump though?
The sign was a pro-Trump sign,
Okay.
and the guy had a camera.
I can't even for that would they go.
could take legal action if they screw up our sign.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But we have to have a witness or a camera. Okay. Anyway, we're getting off track here. So those are the sharing of concerns, community outreach. There's a sort of a mutual aid category here. One says more mutual aid. One says support food availability. And one says work on making recycling available locally. Yeah. The first go around with Indivisible, Marie Nelson was a part of the group, and she put into place plastic bag recycling, the grocery shopping plastic bags. And because of it, this library has 2 benches were given from bags that people turned in, and when you got 500 pounds, you can get this free bench from Trex. I just checked with her on that. She said, nope, they're changing the program. They're not going to offer free benches anymore. But there's free benches all over Iron County from you and I returning our plastic bags, and it really adds up.
Yeah, North Point, we collected the bags and then found out they were charged for the benches now, plus the bags.
Yeah. So, but anyway, anything we can do to. There are a group of people who are attending meetings through Whoopiter to try to get a tri-county recycling program going. Recycling and / solid waste.
Are there any places locally? I know of a place locally that still accepts bags.
Yeah, Crystal Fresh does, but they're no longer going to. She's giving them the word that Trex isn't going to recycle them for nonprofits, because Rise Up was one of those nonprofits. Yes, Aaron?
I have a question for Brian. Since you're here tonight and we are talking about recycling, would you be willing to commit to, in the state legislature, if you're elected, have mandatory statewide curbside recycling for all communities?
I have to look at the numbers on that. It sounds like a great idea. I'm in favor of recycling. I don't know what that looks like on the ground for each municipality. What
We've
issues?
been having commissions studying for 10 years now whether or not we're going to have recycling, and the commissions never seem to really have reports, and they never really seem to go anywhere. And I've always assumed that there was a lack of political willpower in Lansing to do anything about it.
Yeah, I'm on the city council in Houghton, and we only had one bid for our waste management at all, and so it's just waste management. That's all we get, or nothing. And so there are a lot of these bids that come in for trash services and recycling, which we have both in Houghton. There's not a lot of options for communities to choose, and so
I'm not saying what I'm saying is have the state pass legislation that says there must be curbside recycling, even if that means using state tax money to subsidize to make sure.
So you'd have to create a company basically that does that statewide, especially for rural areas.
Really, how come Iron River does not have curbside recycling?
So the problem
I don't know. So good question. I don't know.
The county is responsible for providing recycling options. And the reason they're only required to provide options is because every municipality, or if you're not in the municipality, it falls to either the township or the county, is responsible for providing waste removal in some form or another. So I'll use Iron County as an example. Iron County, if you don't live in Crystal Falls, Iron River, some of the other municipalities that have their own waste pickup, they had the landfill. You had the ability to take your stuff there, and so our county was covered. Now that closed. Now, whenever Iron River did their last negotiation, it's very possible they weren't even offered a recycling option, or it was so expensive that they chose not to do it because at that time we still had recycling at the landfill. So now it's a different ballgame because that is now gone. And now it's up to this commission to come up with some form of recycling option that's available throughout the whole county. So it isn't even a state issue, it's a county issue. And
Yeah, and I sat in on one meeting initially where the discussion was it would be a tri-county effort. So representatives from 3 different counties, Iron,
Bergen,
and Houghton.
I'm pretty sure.
But those counties have something in place. We have nothing in place. We have nowhere to go with our trash. Nothing. No trash. We're seeing trash on the side of the roads again. Mattresses, stuff like this.
You have to take your trash.
You have to take your trash. You have to carry your trash, drive your trash over to Quinnipiac, or I'm exploring Eagle River end.
There's no trash pickup.
There's no trash pickup anymore because Waste Management moved out and shut down.
Yeah, Waste Management basically charges us whatever they want. We just say, okay.
Indivisible has is to become that hammer that says, okay, county, you have a requirement to provide this service. It has been a year since this has closed. You have done nothing. We're going to sue you. You know?
Yeah.
I'm just really interested in that because I called the county commissioner and just said, just teach me, like, why we don't have this. And just to clarify, Brian, the cities that provide, there are some of our cities of which we have many, little tiny here. Some of them do provide trash pickup. Like I live in Gaston, and so I get trash pickup. But I own a property in Stamford Township, and any of the trash that's created there is no pickup for. So that I have to haul either to Quinnipiac or to Eagle River, Wisconsin. So, but anyway, the county commissioner was just like, it's not our thing. It's not. We had nothing. We have no responsibility to this.
He's wrong.
He's wrong.
It wasn't a
totally
he, but
she's wrong. She's totally lying to you. Because I went through this when the rates were raised at Waste Management. I did a deep dive into the requirements because because what happened was they raised the rates like 3 times. It became like $40 to
Right.
drop off your garbage. And I talked to Waste Management, and they're like, "We're willing to work with you, but I can't work with you as an individual. We have to work with your county board." So I approached every single county board member, and they refused to do anything. They're like, it's not our problem. Most people have it because they live in town. And I'm like, no, the numbers show only 25% of the people actually have 25% of the properties only have trash pickup. Now that's more people. I mean, there's a lot of properties out there that have, 1 or 2 people, on 20 acres or whatever.
Well, this is a clear priority.
And like I said, it's been a year now. It'll be a year in July.
When I propose more direct action, if the county commission's not going to listen and do anything about this, it is time for their front lawns to become the new landfill.
There you go. Drop your trash off and get rid of
Okay.
I think the answer to that is the summer is the time for community outreach because we have so many situations. We have parades and market days, like the market day for the rodeo and the fair and the garage sales with the run your bass off, to have a table out there to inform people and just pick 1 or 2 issues to be informing people about voting, about healthcare, about garbage, whatever, just 1 or 2 issues, because that's the way people are going to learn who Indivisible is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we're advocating for better trash and recycling services in Iron County, we haven't seen anything, we don't hear of anything forthcoming. So here's a list of signatures of Iron County residents that are demanding better.
I just wanted to throw in there that a big problem that they're having for recycling anywhere in Michigan is the 10 can deposit. The money in recycling is aluminum, and the can deposit takes that out of the sequence. So nobody wants to touch the recycling because it's not profitable. Therefore, it's going to demand a subsidized recycling, which our local governments don't want to do. So it's going to take some pressure.
And that's
but I'm really glad to know that the county is responsible because, they say no.
Yeah.
And
but that's statewide. The bottle and can collection is statewide. So other communities in the state have programs in place, regardless of that collection being, something they can't fall back on for part of that money.
Well, I think it's a good idea to dump the trash on someone's, that's in power. I mean, it would feel really good, but I don't want to end up in jail, and I don't want to pay for attorney's fees, and I don't want anyone else to have that happen either. So not the best plan.
What if we used the opportunities of all these parades coming up to make our sign but that might literally shine a light on the things we're focusing on?
that trailer with all the recycling that I've got stored up in my basement that I don't know where to bring it.
Pull it in the parade.
Right. It could say things like,
with a couple
we
full
need
garbage
recycling in
bags
Iron
trailing
County.
behind, bouncing on the street.
It could say things like, we need more mutual aid for the homelessness and the unhoused in Iron County. It could say we need more, it could literally give information to people about who we are and what we're focusing on locally.
I love a sign that says the county is responsible for recycling.
Totally.
Yeah. The last category we have here is, to move along here, is a category I'm going to lump as elections are coming up, folks. So this one actually is for any time, but give people 50, 51, 5 calls, give people that information on how to contact representatives, the tools that are available, and make it easier to be heard. And we're always handing out those sheets. In fact, we were looking for it tonight before the meeting, so we don't have it here. But we have given out, we passed out at these meetings, but that's just the people at these meetings. We need to get these things somehow into the public. Here's a list. Actually, I think that could be published in the Reporter. Maybe without paying for an ad. Yeah, and then include on there the address to check your voter registration.
That's a great.
Let's compile that and just put it in, and maybe go into the editor and talk with them.
No.
Yeah. Well,
No, that is a display ad.
that's a letter to the editor with a list like that. It's pretty extensive. I mean, it's every state and federal. Yeah. And then there's less leadership role focused on candidates who are running. Oh, these are 2 items here. This is saying we should have less leadership role. So I'm not sure what that means. Somebody who wrote that wants to clarify.
What was that?
It says less leadership roles.
Oh, it was me. I was calling my. Sorry. What I meant was maybe the way we configured it, there's too many roles, and maybe if there was less, we just need a few people. Because I'm involved in another group, and everybody keeps coming to that group and there's no one in leadership. I mean, one person opens the door. If one person just opened the door, people just come and participate. It might work. I don't know.
Right. Well, the last 6 months ago, before we had these elections that we're elected by, the question was, what do you want? Like tonight, what do you want? And the conclusion, the clear consensus seemed to be we wanted some governance, some structural governance in the organization with bylaws and officers who are accountable. So now we have it. And if we can't work with that kind of a setup going forward, then we just amend those bylaws and create our own way of yeah. And then encourage community to vote with upcoming midterms, how to see if they're registered, where to go, etc. And more voter registration and direct outreach, door knocking, and speakers and candidates. We really want to get we invited all the candidates for District 1, Jack Bergman's seat, including Jack Bergman, to come to Iron River or Crystal Falls for a forum. Sit down at the table, pass the mic, answer the same question. And initially there were 3 people who responded yes, they would come. One was one of the Republican candidates. I can't think of their names now, Aaron, if you know. Pardon?
Could it have been Dan Otter?
Do you know who they are? Do you remember the names? Donater?
I don't know.
Oh, could be. Okay. Okay. And then the other one was the one from Houghton, that's Zachary Feather, or what's his? He's an independent. Featherly or something is his last name. Then he dropped out. Kyle was in, and he's remained in. So that's why we're having him just come and give him the whole time, But yeah, so who hasn't? Oh yeah.
That was
yeah. So anyway, there we have it. We I think we get a clear what would you call it? What's the word for it? Clear mandate here of protests, direct action, including local issues, and how to handle the meetings, monthly meetings and social together, and educating the public. Yeah, that's always, we've got the brochures. We just need people to pass this stuff out and to talk to your neighbors and bring people to the meetings. So that's the way we spread our purpose, our mission. Yeah.
I just think it's the season now that we start with our parades, our different festivals, and there's a lot going on this summer, and so our presence at all of them we really should be real advantageous and get get something going on that. I know it's not that early anymore. Here we are mid-June and kind of still sitting on our hands and waiting for something to happen. Well, I guess it's time.
You're right. And be watching because we're going to be putting the word out. We need you all. Parade is what date? July
11th.
July 11th.
Both the Bass Fest Parade and the Rodeo Parade. So there's a parade in Crystal Falls and a parade in Iron River.
So that's like 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
And July 4th parade.
July 4th is coming up. Alfred is taking it for
I don't, someone needs to check and see. Jay made a good point. Someone needs to, can we still register or is it too late? Is there someone who would like to check on that
Register for what?
for the parades? I think you can register on the day out.
Yeah, I think
Just
Rodeo
turn up.
Parade is day of. That one I know.
Yeah.
I don't know about. Does anybody know about Bass Fest? I think that is day. I think I already have a paper on that. Yeah.
I'm willing to do a table of the day for the rodeo parade if they have the
Market days.
Great. Okay. We need some people to sit with you at that because you don't want to be there by yourself. Tom would sit there with you. Great. Okay. And we all drop in at that table and make it look like there's a lot of interest around that table. So the public comes and swarms it, right? Yes, Jane?
This is the hard issue. We got some ideas up here. These are great things, but a lot of them we've been talking about for a while.
Right.
We need people to get up and do it. We
Me
can't
too.
even fill our leadership team.
Right. Yes. Right.
It's everybody's waiting for somebody else to do it.
Right. I mean, we've got a clear agenda for the next leadership team. Who's going to be there? That's our question. And had you suggested to the group that we would have elections next month then to?
No, that was going to be part of this discussion. We were going to postpone elections. That's the reason we're not having them tonight. So that way we can have a month to build up a team or have a plan going forward. So one way or another, we need to figure out what we're doing by next month. I am exhausted. I do not have the energy. I don't have the capability. I am running on empty and have been. So I need to step back. And that's why I'm not running for president again. So I have a lot going on in my life. I know everyone had a lot going on in their life. But how many of you are retired? Anybody?
Have a what?
Retired. Right. And I understand you're busy. I get it. I understand you're busy. And I appreciate that you're here. But I'm sick and tired of we need to do something, but not me. Not me. I'm not doing it. Don't look at me. No.
I'm afraid of doing a bad job. That's my only thing.
No, there is no bad job.
There is no bad job.
It's going to take because of the farm, and I just don't. I'm afraid that I won't do it right.
Yeah, I feel that too.
I feel like I'll let people down.
I feel
And I
that.
don't even know what the role is. It'd be nice if we had. If I'm incorrect, please tell me. But could we have a detailed idea of what
Let's
each
tell.
position?
Yep.
We have that typed up. We have it typed up.
It's in our bylaws.
I'll email it to you tonight.
Okay, all right.
You
I think everybody should
email
put that on.
Email it out in the newsletter as it's a follow up to this meeting, so everybody. Oh, she's a real girl. Just like that, Maggie. It's so easy. You all receive bylaws. It's available on a link in the last newsletter.
But she did not get the last newsletter.
Oh,
so I'm going to meet with her and we're going to make sure she gets it.
Because every one of the offices is detailed here.
And I will,
what it is.
Maggie. We will do that. The next newsletter, which we'll have the minutes of this.
I can just tell you real quick that I went through in my head what helped the 9 of us been doing the last 6 months. So I started with the president. He's been engineering these meetings and working up the agendas and managing the meetings. He took quite a bit of time at the very beginning of the 6-month period to extract us from unsafe social forums out there so we could have a space where we could discuss as a leadership team without it being open to, eyes. So we're on Signal. And were there other, we didn't switch over to anything else, did we yet? No. But he investigated a lot of that. So he's a Facebook administrator, has since turned that over to Angie, but still an administrator. And helps to coordinate the food drives. I have stepped in wherever I could. Worked with Jay, who's a member at large, on bylaws for a couple of months.
Right.
And organized that Constitution class that we only have 2 classes left. It's been going since we started. Tried to organize the candidate forum, meet and greet, and I've really been taken up with advocacy for Cooks Run. That has been absorbing much of my time and energy over the last 6 months outside of Rise Up, because it was a Green Up committee out of Rise Up. How a couple of us, Lori and I, are both on that steering committee that is trying to work with the county on a resolution to that. Chuck, of course, managing our finances and reporting monthly, and he's been investigating a lot of grants with the National Indivisible. Sandy is kept busy typing up minutes, posting the minutes out to all of us, doing that 6 times monthly, because we've been having the leadership meeting, not 6 times monthly, 3 times monthly. I don't know. Woo. And then Roberta has been collaborating with Angie when scheduling events, organizing the rallies in November and March, maybe another one. January? May Day. 3 rallies. Sign painting parties before the rallies, the Flag Day picnic. We had 2 prayer vigils back in the fall. And that all takes coordinating. And then Angie, the newsletter comes out weekly. Yes? No? Okay, what? I bet you she's
really nice if it did.
but I bet you're working on it weekly. Might not be out. Social media posts, the local media, we've discussed that. And updating our contact info. I mean, this is a lot of busy work. Like I said, Jay was helping with the bylaws. He arranged at least 1 speaker. He's been involved in the food drives, I believe.
Not so much.
But networking with like
The homeless.
and also you and Sandy and Matthew together on the
with
Snap. So he's involved. He's got his hands in like 3 different things that he's advocating for. Amy, my friend's food shelf and doggy rescues. There's other things too, though. I know. Yeah, right. And Rhea, the food drive, as she told you tonight, she's been organizing food drives. So, and I will say, Rhea and Aaron both had a tremendous input on our steering committee and on the concern about Cooks Run. Because of their professional backgrounds, they were able to contribute that expertise to help us work towards a solution. So, we've had our hands in a lot of like areas that all kind of come back to what?
Pies.
Yeah, a lot of pies. And I'm probably not, that's not even listing all of them. So I turn it back over to Aaron. We'll work with this as collective.
I wanted to make one comment, and that is to everyone. Don't worry about a bad job. I worry about no job being done.
Yes.
Okay. We have these huge gaps that we need to fill.
Right.
And maybe it takes more than one person to do it, but grab somebody and do it together as a team, whatever. Member at large is part of the voting leadership team, but you don't have to be on the leadership team to actually get and do something. Take the ball and run with it. And if you need help, ask for help. I am willing to help. I got to take a little step back because I just too much.
He's working full time, a big job,
and just let's jump up and everybody do a tiny bit. Okay? Everybody do a little bit, and we will have a powerful, powerful, powerful organization.
Yep. And the rest of us aren't going anywhere. We're going to hold hands.
Yeah.
Kumbaya.
You know?
There will be a transition.
What were the first things you learn in kindergarten? Always hold hands.
And there will be a transition between outgoing board and new coming board, so that
it doesn't just
kind of a one-on-one, kind of a one-on-one mentoring period for the new board members. So we're not just throwing you out there on your own.
Right.
My comment is simple. If we can leave the papers out there with me as secretary so I can make sure I get
I
the
was going to take a
comments
picture
clearly.
of each
Yeah,
grouping.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I was going to take a picture of you. Though.
Okay, okay.
Just so long as somebody does, we don't agree with you.
Right.
That's all.
Something I'd like to say to the group regarding the whether or not you're worried about doing a bad job, and that is last year when I stepped up as events coordinator, my personality type and my skill set does not lend well to doing events coordination. It is not a thing that comes naturally to me. It's not a thing I like doing, but I believed it was important that we be having events, that we be out there. I made a lot of mistakes. There are a lot of things I wish I had been able to get across the finish line. There were so many more events, speaker series. I had more ideas than I had time to be able to implement events. It is more important that we are doing something than if we allow ourselves to do nothing. And as someone who very much needs support at the moment, to everyone else in the group, please be the change that you want to see in the world. Because what are you going to tell your children and your grandchildren when they ask you, when fascism came to America, what did you do to resist it?
I appreciate the vote of confidence. I know how many different events I wanted to put on that I had to trim off my plate so that I could make sure other things could get across.
I would just like to ponder. I've been pondering this. Think if you had a dual role, if every position that's open, you look for two candidates to fill that role, then you'd have somebody to bounce ideas off of, not just one person, but two people to fill that role. You'd have someone to back you up if you couldn't be there. Let's say, take care of my grandchild in Illinois for, 10 days. I just got done doing that. That I would have someone else to fill that position, or just someone to bounce ideas off of, or I'll do this role and we can do the other. That's the thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
So, I think there'd be more people that need to be involved as presented in this team, only because I know they can't fill every single thing that, we may come up with, or I'm already talking we, right? Because I just think it would be a lot easier. Yeah. It's like, not just to fill a position that I might not be available for, but ideas. Just when it comes to ideas of what we're going to do. I think it would be so much nicer to have someone that is not just someone that, I'll help you. That's wonderful. But someone who has to help me, because they decided to take that position with me. It's part of their role. It's, so just, yes.
When we formed our leadership team, there was much discussion about the size. And one reason that, although there's an events coordinator and a PR, or mini committee, maybe grab 2 or 3 people to work tightly with them. But you don't want 16 people on a leadership team, or you just get bogged down in everything. So the size of it was debated in depth. And then, yes, of course, everybody in leadership needs help it's leadership, not do it all ship.
All right. I know it's heavy, right? It's heavy work. And I will say, if you are scared to talk in front of somebody, I'm going to tell you a quick story. When I was in high school, I took speech class. I had to take speech class because that was one of the things my high school required. You had to get up and give speeches and all that. I almost failed because I hate public speaking. Hate it. Here I am.
You did a great job.
So,
Would you like to tell us what your previous job was?
which one?
The immediately previous one that you were doing for the previous administration.
I was a training. Okay, it's a general position, but I was working as a facilitator, training some of the top positions within the Forest Service. So I was doing supervisor training, and I was doing what we call line officer academy, so all of your district rangers and forest supervisors within the agency. And I was getting in front of them and talking to them and talking to the chief, the top of our agency, and the associate chief. So I got very comfortable with talking to people in power, and I hated it to begin with. So it's not the end of the world. It's not as scary as it seems. I'm not looking at any one person because I'm looking over your head, so that way I don't get freaked out. So, little tip if you don't like public speaking. Okay, we're here to support you. We're not here to just throw you to the wolves. I promise. I promise. That's why we have a team. That's why we have 9 people. Because when it was 3 or 4 people before the last time, it was overwhelming. It was exhausting. We didn't have the support that we needed because we would ask for help and nobody would step up. Or 1 or 2 people, but it wasn't enough for the whole group. And so that's why we have 9 positions on the board. So that way we can support each other. And when someone needs to take a step back, someone else can step in and fill that role for the month. So it's not a, oh my gosh, I'm going to be doing it by myself. That's not the intent. So I know it's not fun. It can be. It can be.
We've had a lot of fun.
We have had a lot of fun.
We've had a lot of laughs.
Yeah. So it can be fun.
No, it didn't go around.
But we need folks that are willing to step up. So if you are willing, it is appreciated. If you are not, I want to know what your concerns are so that way we can figure out why you're not willing to step up and see if there's a way that you can help some other way. Or if you know someone else who's not here tonight who might be interested. So, yes.
One thing that people haven't done that we need to know is what are your talents and abilities so we can tap into those. You don't have to be leadership, but maybe, I don't know, maybe you know calligraphy and you can help write stuff out for us, or
Maybe you got to in with somebody at the local media.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Or you know somebody who knows somebody who could unlock a door for us, kind of thing. Let us know what your talents, abilities, and your connections are. And, you know, just pull one of us off to one side if you want to do it privately. That's okay. But let us know how you can best help the organization. And you know, what you're willing to do. Not everybody's going to be in the leadership. That's fine. But everybody should be doing something, their small part.
The sum is greater than the whole. So, all right. With that, I'm not going to plug, I don't want to say dead horse, but I think we've made the point. And if you're interested, please come see one of us. Let us know. And as Jay said, you have something that you're really passionate about and you want to run with it, or you think it would be a great idea, that would be great too. So, with that, I'm going to close this out. Email us, call us, text us, whatever. Get in contact with us. Yeah. And hopefully then we can keep moving the group forward. Most of the leadership, I would think, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I'm going to assume we want to see the group keep going. That's why we stepped into these roles in the first place, because we believe in the mission of the group, and we believe that there's a need for it. So, we need folks to pick up what we started and run with it. And with that, do we have a motion to close the meeting? Jay motion. Do we have a second? Cindy seconds. All in favor? All right. Any opposed? Okay. Motion to adjourn. Leadership team meeting after this.
If anybody needs to place their handprint on the thing or wanted to, that's the time.
All right. And we are closing out YouTube. Thanks for joining. Stop right here.